There comes a point in every man's life where he has to ask himself, am I living on my own terms, or am I living in the shadow of a woman's manipulation? Because the truth is, toxic women don't just ruin your mood, they hijack your identity, drain your strength, and leave you doubting your own worth. A toxic woman thrives on control. She doesn't want a partner, she wants a puppet. And every time you give in to her games, her mood swings, and her endless drama, you hand over the strings that should have never been in her hands. The crazy part? She doesn't even respect you for it. The more you bend, the weaker you look. And the weaker you look, the more she pushes. Toxic women don't stop when they get their way, and they double down. Because control is an addiction, and you're the supply. Think about how much energy you've wasted trying to fix her, trying to calm her down, trying to make her happy. Did it ever work? Of course not. Because toxic women don't want peace. They want power. And the moment you realize that, you wake up from the trance. The Stoics taught, no man is free who is not the master of himself. Yet here you are, letting her decide your mood, your actions, your day. That's not mastery. That's slavery disguised as love. She guilts you when you say no. She shames you when you don't comply. She rewards you only when you follow her script. Sound familiar? That's not affection. That's psychological warfare. And every time you play along, you sink deeper into the trap. She becomes the center of your world, while your ambitions, your peace, your purpose fade into the background. You stop being a man, and you start being her caretaker, her fixer, her emotional punching bag. But here's the hard truth. The only reason she controls you is because you allow it. She's not stronger than you. She's not wiser than you. She's just relentless. And you've been too afraid to stand firm. The day you decide, enough. No more is the day you break free. Toxic women can't survive in the presence of boundaries. They feed on weakness, on compliance, on silence. But when you draw the line, when you take back your power, you become untouchable. She'll panic at first. She'll lash out. She'll try to reel you back in with guilt, with tears, with fake promises of change. But stand firm, and you'll see her power crumble. Because toxic women are only strong when you hand them the throne. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you cut her control, you start to feel alive again. Your thoughts clear. Your energy returns. Your ambitions resurface. You start to remember what it feels like to be a man in control of his own life. You realize that love without respect is poison. That peace is more valuable than drama. That no woman, no matter how beautiful, is worth sacrificing your sanity. The irony is, once you stop letting her control you, she'll suddenly desire you more. Why? Because strength is attractive, and boundaries are magnetic. She'll try to chase back what she lost, but by then you'll see through the act. You'll know better, and if she doesn't chase, even better. Because now you've created space for something real, for a woman who brings peace instead of chaos, for a relationship that builds you up instead of tearing you down. You don't need her validation. You don't need her approval. You need your freedom. You need your purpose. And you need the courage to say, no more. I run my life, not you. Stop confusing toxicity with passion. Stop mistaking control for love. And stop sacrificing your identity just to keep someone who's only there to drain you. A toxic woman doesn't love you, and she loves the control she has over you. That's the piece most men refuse to admit. You keep telling yourself, but she said she cares. Sure, she cares. About the power trip. About the satisfaction of knowing she can snap her fingers and make you jump. The truth is, the more she sees you bend, the more she'll exploit you. That's the ugly reality of human nature. Respect is born out of strength, not weakness. And toxic women exploit weakness the way a wolf hunts an injured deer, quickly, mercilessly, without hesitation. Here's the test. The moment you set a boundary, does she respect it or fight it? A good woman respects it. A toxic woman will test it, push it, and try to bulldoze through it. That's not love. That's a challenge to see how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice. And if you don't wake up, she'll keep taking. She'll drain your wallet, your confidence, your circle of friends, even your sense of self. You'll look in the mirror and not recognize the man staring back, all because you handed over your life to someone who thrived on control. But here's the beauty. Toxic women are powerless against men who know who they are. When you know your worth, when you value your peace more than her approval, you become untouchable. You stop being her toy, and you start being the man she can't manipulate. Imagine this. Instead of reacting to her games, you smile and stay calm. Instead of begging for her attention, you go silent. Instead of apologizing for things you didn't do wrong, you say, "That's not on me." Watch how fast her power evaporates. Because here's her secret weapon, emotional chaos. She wants you reactive, unstable, always trying to fix her moods. But when you stop reacting, when you become stoic, when you calmly say, "I don't play that game," you break her spell. And yes, she'll hate it at first. She'll scream, cry, accuse you of being cold. But beneath that rage is fear. Fear that she's losing control. Fear that you're waking up. Fear that you're finally remembering that you were never meant to live on her leash. Toxic women always talk about love, but their version of love is transactional. They give you crumbs of affection when you obey, and they withdraw it when you resist. That's not love, that's training. She's training you like a dog, and the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to unlearn. But guess what? The chains aren't real. They're psychological. The moment you say, "I'm done," the chains shatter, and you realize she never had real power. The only power she had was the power you handed her out of fear of losing her. The irony is that once you break free, she'll chase you harder than ever. Why? Because control is her drug, and you just cut off her supply. Suddenly, she'll act sweet, apologetic, even submissive. But don't fall for it. It's bait to get the strings back in her hands. This is where most men fail. They walk away, she cries, she begs, and they think, maybe she's changed. Number. She hasn't. Toxicity doesn't disappear in a week. It just hides, waiting for you to hand back the control. Don't make that mistake. Instead, use that freedom to rebuild yourself. Pour into your goals, your health, your friendships, your purpose. Because a man with purpose can't be controlled. A man with direction doesn't get trapped in toxic cycles. He's too busy moving forward. And when a toxic woman sees that strength, she realizes she lost. Nothing terrifies her more than a man she can't control. Nothing frustrates her more than a man who doesn't need her approval. Here's the ultimate power move. Don't even argue. Don't try to explain. Don't waste your breath proving your point. Just walk. Silence is deadlier than shouting. Distance is stronger than debate. Because toxic women can fight words, but they can't fight absence. And once you've cut her grip, you'll notice something wild. Peace. The kind of peace you didn't even realize was possible. The silence that used to feel uncomfortable will now feel like freedom. The drama that used to drain you will be replaced by energy you can finally use for yourself. A toxic woman doesn't just control your actions. She controls your mind. She implants doubts, twists your words, and makes you question your own reality. That's why you feel drained even when you're not fighting. It's not just what she does, it's how she rewires you to believe it's your fault. This is called gaslighting. And once you recognize it, the spell is broken. Gaslighting is her most powerful weapon because it makes you fight yourself instead of her. You think you're the problem. You think you're not enough. But the truth is, she's manipulating your perception to keep you under her thumb. The danger is that toxic women thrive in confusion. The more confused you are, the more control she has. That's why arguments never feel resolved. That's why you leave conversations more lost than before. She doesn't want clarity. She wants chaos. Because clarity means you'd walk away. But here's where you flip the script. You start demanding simplicity. You stop explaining yourself 10 different ways. You stop chasing her logic. You say, "No, this is my line." And when she tries to twist it, you don't argue. You walk. Suddenly, the chaos doesn't touch you anymore. Another trick toxic women use is guilt. They know you're a good man, and they weaponize your empathy. They cry, they accuse, they play the victim. Not because they're weak, but because they know guilt makes you bend. Every time you feel bad for saying no, you're falling right into her trap. But guilt only works if you believe it. When you realize her tears are tactics, her sob stories are manipulation, her poor me act is a play for control. You stop buying the ticket, you stop attending the show, and that's when she loses her grip. She'll tell you, if you loved me, you'd do this. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't demand self-destruction. Real love doesn't ask you to give up your identity. When a woman says that, what she's really saying is, if you loved me, you'd hand me your power. And that's where you draw the line. Stoic psychology teaches us to separate what we control from what we don't. You can't control her moods. You can't control her chaos. You can't control her toxicity. But you can control whether you keep showing up for it. That's where your freedom lies. It's not about fixing her. It's not about changing her. It's about reclaiming yourself. Because the longer you stay, the more you shrink. And the smaller you become, the harder it is to climb back out. Some men stay because they're addicted. Yes, addicted. Not to her, but to the highs and lows she creates. Toxic women operate like slot machines, unpredictable. Sometimes you win her affection, most times you don't. That unpredictability floods your brain with dopamine, the same way gambling does, and you confuse that rush for love. But love is steady, not chaotic. Love is consistent, not conditional. If you're exhausted, anxious, and doubting yourself every day, that's not love. That's addiction to a toxic cycle. And the only cure is walking away. Here's the crazy part. Once you leave, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. The stress will melt, your confidence will return, and you'll realize just how much of your life you wasted in someone else's storm. That realization will sting, but it will also free you. And when she sees you strong again, don't be surprised if she comes running back. Toxic women always circle back to test if the door is still open. She'll text, call, maybe even show up at your door, but remember, the test never ends. If you let her back, the cycle restarts. That's why your silence is stronger than any speech. No long explanations, no dramatic breakups, just withdrawal of access. Because when the supply is cut off, her power dies with it. The world is full of men who lost years, even decades, to toxic women. Don't let that be your story. Don't waste your prime years being emotionally drained while your dreams rot in the corner. Because at the end of the day, it's not her fault you stayed, it's yours. Harsh truth, but empowering. Because if it's your fault you stayed, then it's also your choice to leave. And choice is where your strength begins. The man who refuses to let toxic women control his life isn't just protecting himself. He's setting the foundation for everything he wants: peace, purpose, freedom, and real love. A toxic woman doesn't have to scream or fight to control you. Sometimes she does it with silence. She withholds affection, withholds intimacy, withholds approval until you're crawling back, begging to know what you did wrong. That's control disguised as punishment. And guess what? She loves watching you squirm. She feeds on your confusion because it proves she still has you wrapped around her finger. You think silence is peace, but with her, silence is a weapon. It's her way of pulling your strings without lifting a finger, but you can flip it. When you stop chasing her approval, her silence loses its sting. When you stop caring about her mood swings, her games collapse. The moment she realizes she can't shake you anymore, she's no longer the one in power. You are. Toxic women also control through comparison. She'll say, "Why can't you be more like him?" Or, "Other men do this for their women." What she's doing is planting insecurity in you. She wants you to compete for her validation. She wants you to prove your worth. But a real man doesn't audition for love. Here's the truth. The moment you start competing for her attention, you've already lost. Because she's not looking for love, and she's looking for control. She's measuring how far she can push before you break. And the more you give, the more she takes. Another strategy toxic women use is turning people against you. She'll whisper lies, twist stories, and play the victim so that others see you as the villain. It's called a smear campaign. And suddenly you're fighting not just her, but her army of enablers. But don't fight on her battlefield. The more you explain, the guiltier you look. Instead, let time expose the truth. Lies always rot under the weight of reality. While she's busy spinning webs, you stay grounded, calm, and silent. Eventually, people will see who was really toxic. You've got to understand this. Toxic women don't want partners, they want puppets. They want men who jump when they pull the string. And the reason you feel drained is because deep down, you know you weren't born to be a puppet. You were born to be a king. And a king doesn't argue with jesters. A king doesn't explain himself to clowns. A king simply sets the boundary and enforces it. That's what breaks the control. Not shouting, not pleading, just firm, unshakable boundaries. Now let's get real. The reason most men stay under toxic control is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that no one else will want them. And toxic women exploit that fear like vultures. They make you believe you're lucky they tolerate you when the truth is the opposite. The truth is, once you free yourself, you'll realize how many opportunities you missed while chained to her drama. You'll see that peace isn't boring, peace is powerful. Peace gives you energy, focus, and confidence. And once you taste it, you'll never let chaos sit at your table again. One of the most dangerous lies she'll sell you is, you'll never find someone like me. And that's exactly the point. You don't want to. You're not supposed to. She says that as if it's a threat, but in reality, it's a promise. When you break free, you'll start noticing something. The way your body feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, your sleep deeper. Toxic women don't just break your heart, they wreck your health. They spike your cortisol, drain your testosterone, and leave you mentally burnt out. Freedom isn't just emotional, it's physical. And here's where it gets even better. The same strength you use to escape her control is the same strength that will attract better women into your life. Women who actually respect you, value you, and build with you, not drain you. Because healthy women are drawn to men with boundaries. They're attracted to men who don't tolerate nonsense. The very thing that toxic women hate, your strength, is the same thing that real women love. So understand this. Walking away from a toxic woman isn't just about escaping pain. It's about upgrading your life. It's about creating space for real love, real respect, and real joy. But it all starts with one decision. One moment where you say, no more. Not tomorrow, not next month. Not after the next fight. Now. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the chains sink. The real trick is how she rewires your brain. She gives you highs when she's nice, then pulls it away when she's cold. That roller coaster is addictive. It's the same psychology casinos use. Keep you chasing a win that never lasts. She becomes your slot machine of emotions. And every time you stay, you train her that her games work. She learns, if I throw a tantrum, he'll cave. If I withhold love, he'll chase harder. If I play the victim, he'll feel guilty. She's not just playing games. She's studying your weakness. But here's the brutal truth. The weakness isn't her. It's you. You let her get away with it. You reward her behavior with your compliance. And until you flip the script, she'll never stop. Toxic women don't change because you love them harder, and they change when you stop playing. Think of it like a fire. As long as you feed it oxygen, it burns. Stop feeding it, and it suffocates. That's how you beat toxicity, by starving it of your attention, your validation, your energy. A toxic woman thrives on drama. She's addicted to chaos the way some people are addicted to caffeine. If things are calm, she'll stir up trouble just to feel alive. And if you're the type of man who hates conflict, congratulations. You're her favorite victim. Because your peace is her playground. She knows you'll do anything to avoid a fight, so she weaponizes conflict. She keeps you walking on eggshells, constantly adjusting yourself just to keep her calm. But the joke's on you. She doesn't want calm. She wants control. She'll even gaslight you. She'll make you doubt your own memory, your own perception, your own sanity. You'll start asking yourself, am I crazy? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. That's the goal. To make you trust her more than you trust yourself. But when you wake up, when you see through the fog, it's like breaking a spell. You realize she never had magic, just manipulation. And once you decide to trust your own reality again, her power evaporates. The sad part is, a lot of men stay because of hope. They think, maybe she'll change. Maybe she'll go back to the woman I first met. But the woman you first met was an illusion. That was bait. What you're living with now is the reality. And reality doesn't change because you wish it to. Toxic women are masters at apologies too. After a blow-up, she'll cry, she'll beg, she'll promise. And for a while, she'll act right. That's not growth. That's a reset button. She knows you'll stay if she pretends just long enough. Then, once you relax, the cycle begins again. You've got to stop being a prisoner of the cycle. Love bomb, fight, cry, repeat. That's not love. That's emotional quicksand. The longer you stay, the deeper you sink. And let's not forget, toxic women are experts at making you doubt your worth. She'll cut you down with insults, mock your ambitions, dismiss your dreams. Why? Because the weaker you feel, the easier you are to control. A man who doubts himself is easy to cage. That's why the most rebellious act you can do is build yourself up. Hit the gym, chase your goals, sharpen your mind. The stronger you become, the less her poison affects you. Confidence is the antidote to her control. When you finally pull away, she'll panic. She'll call you cold, heartless, cruel. She'll play every card to drag you back. But that's just proof you're winning. If she didn't need control, she wouldn't fight so hard to keep you. The truth is, the woman who truly loves you won't fight your freedom. She'll respect it. She'll support it. She'll add to your peace instead of robbing it. That's the difference between love and control. One gives, the other drains. Stop letting toxic women convince you that suffering equals loyalty. Love isn't supposed to feel like war. It's supposed to feel like home. And if your home feels like a battlefield, it's time to pack your bags. Because the day you stop letting her control your life, you don't just escape her, you rediscover yourself. The man you were before the drama. The man who laughs without fear, who dreams without permission, who leads without apology. That man is still in you. He's just waiting for you to cut the chains. Think about it. If she really loved you, would she crush your spirit? Would she sabotage your growth? Would she drain your soul just to feel secure? Number. That's not love, that's control wearing a mask. So the next time you feel her claws digging in, remember this. You're not her property. You're not her toy. You're a man with purpose, with strength, with freedom. And the only way she controls you is if you hand her the keys. Stop handing over your power. Stop trading your peace for her chaos. Stop confusing survival with love. Because the truth is, once you reclaim your life, you'll wonder why you ever thought her control was worth the cost. And when you finally walk away, you won't just feel free. You'll feel alive. You'll feel powerful. You'll feel like yourself again. And that's the ultimate revenge. Living a life no toxic woman can ever touch.